I knew from prior experience that I knew that I couldn't depend on Peter for any kind of like emotional support. I knew that that I there was like definitely like a level to like how much emotional baggage I was willing to like either of us, I guess you could say, was willing to bring into the relationship, as toxic as that sounds. But it's interesting, the lies that you tell yourself, because you tell yourself things will change. You tell yourself that people will mature. Loud ass emergency vehicle going by the building. But also, you think that the arguments that you have are like in good faith. You think that you're finding out more about the person, and there's also a level to this that you have, that like we never lived together. So I was thinking maybe some of this will be resolved if and when that does happen. There was also a time when even though we were just dating, it was very obvious that both of us were very serious about, and we had said as much, despite our issues, we were committed to like staying together, right? To like building this, to like seeing this through. And we had told each other as much, and right? So I had no reason to not believe that. And I also thought at one point, I thought about suggesting going to couples counseling. But I also felt that if I said that, he might laugh at me. So anyway, all that is to say is that I'll be brief about this, because believe me, I know I've already said all of this, but it all connects back to the main story that I keep coming back to. And I think I've already said this as well, but there's almost a part of me that's a little bitter that all of these very, very, very personal and like poignant, etc. times in my life are closely intertwined with memories of him. So again, I had a trip to the East Coast planned like I normally do at the beginning of the year, but this one I can only describe as like 2 weeks after Pokey's death. I can only describe as like I feel like I went to the East Coast like on hands and knees crawling, because so I landed in Boston, and then right before I check into my hotel, I get a text in our family group chat that my grandma broke her hip and is being rushed into surgery. My friend is a medical student at Yale. I was actually planning on seeing her a little bit. So it was going to be Boston, Rhode Island, Yale, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC. That's what I was going to do on that trip. Okay, I'm not going to go into all of that. There's just a couple things I'm going to touch on, and then in the next video, I'm going to talk about Peter's birthday, because this is where the story just, if it hasn't already. And by the way, keep in mind, so we are at 4 months until the final FaceTime, okay? So the final FaceTime takes place early June. So just keep that in mind. And I haven't even gotten to our Chicago trip. I still have several more groups of friends that I'm introduced to. So keep all of that in mind, aside from the fact that I just lost, my 2 childhood pets, and then my grandma, my 94-year-old grandmother could potentially, I asked my friend, I mentioned my friend at Yale. I said, yo, give it to me straight. Like, should I book a flight back? Like, is she going to get out of this surgery? And my friend gave it to me straight. My grandmother is like the healthiest one out of the entire fucking family. I don't know what else to tell you, but nothing can stop that woman. She's superwoman. And I am so blessed every day that she's our matriarch. Topic for another story. Like I said, I desperately needed this vacation. 2 important things happened on this vacation. So I'll talk about one of the 3 signs that Pokey sent me. And then because I knew I was going to get one on the trip, I just didn't realize how quickly the other two would come, literally within days before I left San Francisco, within days of losing her. But Philadelphia, I'm sorry. I really don't like your city. And I was there for 3 days. I don't know why I planned to spend the most time in Philly, and then I only spent one day in Baltimore because I love Baltimore. Y'all can say what you want. Y'all could honestly say what you want, but I stand behind that. Here's what's really, well, and I'll say this about Philly. I had the best ghost tour there out of the 3 that I took. Huge ghost tour fan. And in Philly, I also did some major work on my Magna Opus. And Opus, God damn it, I looked it up, Magna Opus, right? I did some very important work on that. And it made me incredibly, I don't have to tell you, I literally cried in the last video, but believe it or not, I got even more emotional than that, but it did concern. That had something to do with it. It had a lot to do with the animals. So that happened in Philly. And so for that reason, maybe Philly will always have somewhat of a place in my heart, even though I probably, it wasn't. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything else. What was the other? Okay, Baltimore. I wanted to see Johns Hopkins. There was just something about Johns Hopkins University that I had to go and see it for myself. And I've already mentioned that when I go to new places, I really like to see universities and libraries. Go figure. Usually a great place to get air conditioning. Because anywhere's hotter than San Francisco. Anywhere I travel is always hotter. So y'all could complain about the fog, but I kiss the ground every time I fly in. And I stand by that as well. Anyway, so I only had one day in Baltimore, and I would go back literally just to stay at the Ulysses Hotel. Like, oh my God. I really liked Baltimore. Everyone was so nice. And you know what? It was a real city. So again, I had this burning passion to see Johns Hopkins. And what my thought and plan was that I knew that they did not have a statue to Henrietta Lacks. If you don't know who that is, that's a problem. So I was going to pretend and act dumb and act like I didn't know. And then I was going to walk onto the campus. This is my thought, mind you. Like, go ahead and laugh because I know. So my thought was I was going to go onto the campus, ask a couple people, find out that they didn't have a statue tour, and then raise a big fuss and do something stupid, honestly. That was my thought. I didn't even know what I was going to do. So here's what happened. So I take the bus up to Johns Hopkins, right? And I guess it rounds the bend right at the outskirts of the university. So I did not realize that we were technically outside of the university. And I looked out of the window and my heart jumped. I've never, ever had deja vu before. The residential park outside of Johns Hopkins University, I have dreamed of that place many times, like at least 10 times throughout my life and throughout my childhood. And in my dreams, I thought that it was a residential neighborhood. I had no idea that it was a college university. So of course, immediately I got off and I'm sitting there and I'm completely floored. So let me put it this way, my original plans went out the window because I was not expecting to find this. So I won't talk more about the meaning of any of that, of what I think it meant, because it doesn't really matter to the story. What I do want to get to is that, again, that was my introduction to Johns Hopkins, which, by the way, I would do a master's degree there, and I know, just based on how pretty the school is, because that's what I thought about UCLA, but that is a beautiful, gorgeous university, and I love Baltimore. So, and y'all have crime, guess what? We do here in San Francisco too. And I'll bet you it's not as bad as the media makes it. I'm willing to bet that, actually. Anyway, so I'm kind of in awe, right? I was not expecting what I had happen when I first entered, and then again, I'm just kind of looking, and everything was just so pretty. And what I really like is how small and easy to navigate everything was. That's big for me, right? San Francisco, small city. So I go all the way to the back, do my bit of exploring. I don't even remember what part of campus I was in, but I remember walking back, and mind you, I'm wearing dress shoes. I was not planned for this. My feet had the biggest of blisters at the end, but I didn't really care, because out of the corner of my eye, I saw this flash of red This may not mean nothing to my East Coast folks, but I have never seen a cardinal in my life. And actually, to this day, this cardinal and its mate that I saw shortly after are the only cardinals I've ever seen in my life. So, and I've already talked about my connection to the animal kingdom, and I knew that this was not, especially birds in particular, I knew this was no coincidence, and I knew that it meant something, and I was going to look it up shortly, but I just can only imagine what this must have looked like. Like, I'm on, dress shirt, slacks, nice shoes. You can go look all this up on my Instagram. I had this really nice girl who happened to be from the Bay who took a picture of me outside the school. But I'm like starting to bawl. I'm like starting to cry, y'all, because I knew it meant something. I knew it was connected to my cat. And go look this up as well. As a matter of fact, I put it in the post what cardinal spirit animal means. But I'm like making my way out of the university, and I just remember like I barely made it out before I'm just like full on, because I knew that Pokey had sent the cardinal. And especially with the other two signs that she sent me, like it was the close to like closure in this situation that I could find. Before I get to the next video, which will be about Peter's birthday, which comes up very quickly, I will also add that this whole ordeal with Peter and the way that he discarded of me, I will be so honest, is to help me get over my cat stuff as well. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. So I'll see you in the next video.